Ladies and gentlemen, by the end of this video, I want to make sure you have everything you need to understand how to use the frequency of money to manifest more abundance into your life. Now, when I finally understood this concept and I finally started to apply the things that Nikola Tesla said, like, think of life in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and the secrets of the universe will reveal themselves to you. By the end of this video, if you can master these 4 concepts, you'll have the ability to begin creating more abundance, creating the reality you desire. And it's all a product of learning to see money and abundance in the form of energy. But in 2022, when I was $80,000 in debt, I fell victim to 3 ways of being. I fell victim to a state of blame, where I looked at my circumstances and blamed everything but myself. I was the victim to what I was experiencing. It was external circumstances. It was ex-girlfriends. It was because I was in college and I wanted to be a kid, right? These were all self-limiting mindsets that kept me trapped in the experience I didn't want. It was also the fact that I was so focused on what I lacked. Yes, I was $80,000 in debt, but that's all I focused on. There'd be moments I had glimpses of where I'd want to go, but I gave all my time and energy to that victim mindset. I was like, I'm never going to get out of here. I'm never going to be better. And I just started consuming because I couldn't manage that feeling. I started eating like shit, smoking, drinking, partying, procrastinating on the work. Everything spiraled out of control. And finally, the worst of them all, I listened to others. I heard people tell me, just go get a job, start from ground zero, do this, do that. But I realized I had to be delusional if I wanted to see the transformation I was seeking. And this delusion started by living by spiritual principles, by learning the metaphysics of life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to take a quick second to let you know that I'm doing something absurd. I'm going to be doing a free 5 days of one-on-one coaching for possibly you. So if you've been wanting to actually rewire your brain and unlock that untapped potential so you can reinvent yourself, I want you to click the link in the description to apply to work with me for free in this one-on-one capacity. But here is the catch. This is going to be for a YouTube transformational series. So the person that does this with me will be recording everything. We'll be bringing your transformation to life, and we'll be turning it into a little docu-series for the channel. So if you've been wanting to rewire your brain and reinvent yourself, working in a one-on-one capacity with me, click the link in the description and let's see if we can bring that transformation to life. Back to the video. I had to learn that abundance is infinite. When you want money, when you want success, you actually want abundance. Abundance can come in the form of freedom, time, your ability to travel, your ability to access things you didn't have access to before. But money is a man-made concept. So that's the first limiting belief we're going to crack right now. Money was created by the human mind. We are placing price tags on mediums of exchange. Back in the day, we used to trade. I would be like, I'll trade one of my cows for one of your horses. That's a value exchange. That's an exchange of energy. That's an exchange of opportunity. That's an exchange of resources. So if you can start to look at money and the orchestrating mechanisms behind it, which are resources, value, and exchange, you're going to start to change your paradigm and you're going to see opportunity in a new way. You need to realize that this energetic potential is infinite. That's what all this information tells us. You have access to this source, and from this source, all things are created. You just need to figure out how to get to that state. You need to figure out how to enter that stillness, enter that pocket of creativity. And you do it by transcending the mind, because your voice, your ego, your self-limiting beliefs is always chatting. Grant, you should just do X, Y, and Z on YouTube. You should just sell out and create a product right now. It's always scarce. It's always wanting to make decisions out of lack. It's always wanting to make decisions out of fear. You have to learn to come back to center. And center is stillness. It's literally no thing. That's why so many people struggle to find it. Because your ego, your body, is always trying to do something. Because that's what it thinks survival is. But if you sit in this present moment, you find stillness in your breath, that's where that pocket of creativity comes from. It comes from letting life taking its own accord, but you find stillness in your awareness. You become an observer, not an actor or a doer. Now, as you start to transcend this mind, you want to start aligning with success. The first thing you need to do is do what works. If you want to start a business, if you want to become a coach, if you want to sell products, are you going to walk around and put ads in a newspaper? That does not work anymore. Are you going to send out freaking envelopes to random people to promote a product? Like, no, that does not work anymore. That's like an outdated paradigm. That is making your life harder. That is giving yourself more resistance. So when I say do what works, don't reinvent the wheel. Because the people that are succeeding exist in the state of ingenuity. They exist in the state of creativity. Now, when I look at opportunities in business, I try and combine two things. My most successful business where I manifested over $1 million was when I took two high-level concepts from two completely different business models and niches and put them into one. I combined ingenuity, I combined abundance, I combined opportunity into one lane that I saw fit. Now, your only job, once you find this vehicle through which you're going to operate through, is going to be intent, service, and giving. Because that's the energy you give. If we come back to the concept of money, it's value, it's resource, it's exchange. So you need to be focused on your intention. Are you trying to take, or are you trying to give? Are you going to provide resources? Are you going to provide services? Are you going to provide value? Now, as you start to step into this mindset, you need to evolve your outdated programs. One of the outdated programs is people think that money comes from work. It does not. It comes from value. This is the difference between an hourly wage and someone who's self-employed. There are social media managers that get paid $20 an hour to work at big companies. They are employees. They're on an hourly wage. Versus someone who's self-employed gets to determine the value exchange for your service. And this is all a spiritual concept. It's your ability to hold an internal state of conviction. It's your ability to hold an internal perspective and demand that experience from reality out of self-respect. When I first started my agency, I was selling the same product, the same exact thing at different price points. I sold it for $5,000 was the first deal I closed. I sold two more for $7,500. Then I sold it for $10,000. Then I sold it for $15,000. And I pushed it all the way up to $30,000. The only two metrics that changed were one, the resources and value I was able to provide based on my experience, because I had clients that made over $1 million with my service. So I ended up charging $30,000 and 40% of whatever I drove them, because that's the value I can provide. I'm not just some social media manager you can hire and I will teach you what videos are going to go viral. No, I'm bringing a level of insight. I'm bringing a level of awareness. I'm bringing a way of doing business through my spiritual foundations that set me apart from the rest. So I decide the value. You need to stop letting external limits shape your internal beliefs. Because if you think that the 9-to-5 hourly wage is the only ceiling of potential, that's your belief, so you're going to run into the invisible ceiling of your creation. But if you come back to this concept of ingenuity, you come back to this cutting edge wisdom, and you start to look for that feeling. When I see this spiritual wisdom, it excites me. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much going on in this reality we're not even aware of. Which means I can find that energy, I can find that feeling, I can find that frequency and opportunity. I am not excited by a 9-to-5 idea. I am excited by someone paying me $100,000 to deliver a result. If I could only work with 5 people over the span of 6 months for $100,000, that's what I would do. I don't want to sell a couple $100 product. No, I'm moving on from that paradigm. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to provide value in its fullest capacity and give 100% of my resources, value, and energy to someone that's willing to meet me on that exchange. You see how that's an internal belief? The more I hold that with conviction, the more I'm going to get it in reality. But if I let external things shape me, if I'm scarce and I'm like, well, I got bills to pay, then I'm going to fold on my own will. I'm going to bend the knee to a freaking man-made concept of the dollar. We can't be doing that. Now, let's transition into the spiritual wisdom. This is the most impactful stuff, right? Being an entrepreneur is spiritual because everything you do is create. You are turning nothingness into a manifestation. You're taking an idea, an insight, an opportunity that exists as potential energy, and you are bringing it into the physical experience. You are creating. You're providing value. You are giving. Right? You see how entrepreneurship is aligned with spirituality? You see how it's the same thing? Entrepreneurs aren't just some megalomaniac elite billionaires that are trying to control the population. No. It's people that see the world in a creative and ingenious way. And in doing so, they're able to bring a resource, a piece of value, a solution that people haven't seen before, and they get to decide the price tag because it's authentic, it's creative, it's aligned. And it all starts with the mindset of learning to give what you want to receive, ladies and gentlemen. You need to ask yourself, how can you give people what you seek? That's what an exchange is. We can start with simple concepts. If you want people to pay attention to you and respect you, you need to respect and pay attention to others. Right? That's the energy exchange. That's the medium of value. If you want love, if you want the experience of love, guess what? You can have it right now by giving it to someone. Now, when it comes to business, when it comes to finances, if you want wealth, you need to figure out how to give it. But wealth isn't just making people money. Wealth comes in a variety of shapes and sizes. So you need to find out what excites you, because people pay for identity, right? They want to become someone new. There are people that make $10 million a year that know they can make 50. People want their identity change where you can extract even a micro percentage of their potential from them. There are people that want status, right? They want to be associated with nice things, which is why they buy Ferraris, Hermes bags, Cartier, Rolex. That's status. People want peace of mind. For people that have success, they have so much going on. Everyone relies on them. They just want some peace of mind, which comes back to an identity shift. Can you help them find stillness? Can you help them find the ability to slow down and become present with chaos as an entrepreneur and businessman? People want results. They want transformation. If I were like, I'm looking for one of you that wants 100,000 followers on Instagram to sell your own product. If you want 100,000 followers on Instagram, I'm your guy. Within 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I was able to get over 100,000 followers on Instagram in the spiritual space because I understood what it took. I understand the identity. I understand who you need to be, how you take advantage of social media, but it's not a $500 course. It actually costs $25,000. But I will deliver the service within 8 weeks. And if you have over 30 to 50,000 followers, is that worth it for you? Right? You see the difference in that mindset shift? People want time back. Are you able to build systems into businesses or help people plan exotic vacations so they can get time back? And people want health. Are you able to solve health problems that not even traditional medicine and doctors can solve? So, ladies and gentlemen, coming full circle to the equation you need to master, pairing intention with infinite abundance that you recognize in the source, the spiritual foundation you live your life on, and spending time in activities that transcend the normal structure of life. Get outside in nature. Hang out with like-minded people that have conversations like this. Spend time in meditation. Spend time getting creative in writing and dreaming, thinking outside of the box, Because once you pair an intention of providing service and value in something you love, you have the foundation energetically of abundance, and you're able to engage in activities that move beyond the subconscious mind, move beyond the conscious mind, into your ability to be present, where you can transcend the normal noise of everyday life. You're going to unlock emergence. Now, this is what the spiritual reality is. This is what happens when abundance manifests or emerges from the present moment. And it comes from stillness, but it comes from alignment. So, with this equation, we need to figure out how we can step into presence and flow state. Your intention needs to be the progressive expansion of well-being for yourself and others. That is just the mindset to live life on. If you can figure out how to make your life better and then help other people do the same, that is the intention that you plan the equation with. Then the creative genius will naturally organize. Your intention is what you place in that field of potential. If your intention is to desire money because you're scarce and you don't like the way you feel when you get anxiety, you're actually just going to manifest the anxiety and the lack because of the perspective you have. My personal perspective on life and business, I like to look backwards. I like to look at the things I accomplished. So, I've been able to build a 7-figure creator agency. I've been able to build a personal brand with over 150,000 followers in something I love, spirituality. So if I can help others do that, if I can help others shift their identity, enter a similar state of consciousness I've discovered, I've implemented in my own life, that is me with the intention of progressively expanding my well-being and others. And from there, when I can remain in that realization, when I can remain in that awareness, the source energy, that field of potential, will naturally begin to organize itself because my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions align with that intention. They're coherent. I have a coherent frequency of information I'm communicating with life. Now, the final thing you need to master is detachment, because it is the clinging and grasping that prevents you from accessing the flow. Clinging and grasping is you signaling to the universe that you don't trust that it provides. Okay, Grant, keep clinging and grasping. Keep struggling to swim. We will keep giving you opportunities to prove that's what you want for yourself. As soon as you can stop clinging and grasping, and you can just spend your time resting in this information, actually practicing being mindful, actually getting creative and losing yourself in the work, you will start to experience the spontaneity, the emergence that can come from life, the synchronicities, the magic. And from there, you'll finally realize it's all about the expansion of joy. The real secret is following what excites you. That's the only decision you need to make in every moment. When you're given option A or B, you need to listen to what you feel energetically. You need to listen to what your heart tells you. This YouTube video was spontaneous. I got a busted ankle right now. My logical mind's like, Grant, you can only post on Mondays and Thursdays and only go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, guess what? Fuck that. This is spontaneously arising out of creativity. And I don't know where it goes. I don't know how people are going to respond, but I know that in order for me to expand my well-being, I had to learn to think and use the frequency of money. But the frequency of money isn't just a dollar sign. It's an exchange of value, an exchange of resources, an exchange of services. And you access the higher states you seek by doing what works. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Once you have a vehicle, you know that works, like social media, coaching, you're able to shift your intention. You don't need to be scarce anymore. You can have faith. You can have trust. You can begin to give what you seek. When you start to give what you seek, you're going to start to manifest that experience back to you. And that is how you use the equation of pairing intention with abundance and transcending the limitations of the mind. And through that, you will find presence, flow, and anchor yourself in detachment because you know you are walking the path of alignment and truth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you in this one. I'm going to edit this right now, throw it up on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.